Hello and welcome to Lyra Nara. Have you ever heard about Jim Hoff, the Iceman? Well, if you haven't heard about him, this guy made it into the Guinness Book of Records by staying submerged in an ice tank for an incredible amount of time. And the most amazing part about it is that his core body temperature didn't drop as it would normally, so he didn't get the hypothermia. He also climbed up very high mountains just in shorts, in incredible cold, also without his body core temperature dropping. And the amazing part about all of this is that he's not able to achieve such feats because he's superhuman. He himself states that this is only achieved through special method of breathing. And in this presentation, we're going to talk about how important it is to breathe correctly for remaining healthy and curing diseases. So let's get started. And I'm sure you've noticed already that when you are stressed, you have a different breathing pattern than when you are relaxed. When you're stressed, your breathing pattern is that you breathe faster, you sigh more often and irregularly, you breathe through your mouth, you have so-called upper chest breathing, you have noticeable breathing, you are panting, you are eventually ventilating, your mouth gets dry, which is activated by the sympathetic nervous system, your limbs and extremities get colder, your blood circulation is impaired, and you can even experience anxiety and panic attacks because your body does not get enough oxygen. When you're relaxed, on the other hand, your breathing patterns are that you breathe slower, only 6 to 8 breaths per minute. You have a soft breathing, you have nasal breathing only, you breathe through your diaphragm and not through your chest. You have silent breathing, your mouth is moist, your limbs and extremities get warmer, your whole body increases slightly and gets pleasantly warmer. Your blood circulation is more homogeneous and your blood pressure is well regulated. Also, your mind is calm, you experience no anxiety or panic attacks, and your cells are well oxygenated. And many of us, of course, also know that if we do not breathe for 3 minutes or longer, we are going to die. But not so many know that if we are breathing incorrectly, we will become sick soon. Because our life depends on the blood pH, which must stay strictly in the range of 7.35 to 7.45, so a very narrow, precise range. And if our blood pH is moving down to 6.8, let's say, or up to 7.8, our cells are going to die slowly and you will shortly follow. In our brain, there is a sensor that controls the blood pH and buffering. It's also buffering the pH, and if the pH gets too acidic, it will alkalize the blood using bicarbonate. We produce, by the way, bicarbonate in our bodies naturally, and if the blood pH gets too alkaline, it will acidify the blood using carbonic acid. And this is called buffering. And to buffer between carbonic acid and bicarbonate, the blood needs one more component, and that is carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is available in the atmosphere, of course, and is produced in our lungs as a result of our breathing, especially during the exhalation phase. In the atmosphere, there is only about 0.03% of carbon dioxide. The rest of the carbon dioxide is mainly consumed by plants, as we all know. We need, however, 40 mmHg pressure, which is equivalent to 6.5% carbon dioxide in our blood, in order to be able to buffer the blood pH. In the gas that we exhale, there is about 3.7% carbon dioxide. Thus, the main source of carbon dioxide for us humans is the exhaled air, which is enriched with CO2. And to achieve the 6.5% CO2 in the blood, we need to manufacture CO2 and to store it in the lungs. The human body requirement for oxygen is only 5% mmHg, and in the atmosphere there is about 21% of oxygen, so 4 times more than we need in our bodies. And this means that as far as you are breathing, you will get always enough oxygen. Oxygen is not a problem. We do not have to manufacture oxygen. We do not need to store it. There is enough available. We just need to breathe. There's another story, as we've talked about, with CO2 on the other hand. So how do we store CO2 in our lungs then? Well, the lungs enable the breathing using the surface of about the size of a tennis court. And if we simulate the lungs with a sparse bathtub, we see that both have a pump, a reservoir, an inlet and an outlet. And to function well, the bathtub must always have enough water above the inlet and outlet. And to secure the 6.5% of CO2 in the lungs all the time, the level of CO2 must be always above a minimum of 35 mmHg. And the brain is set to trigger a new breathing once the CO2 has reached a level of 35. If you breathe functionally, you will secure the necessary CO2 level of 40 mmHg, which is 6.5% in your blood. Below 30 mmHg, the body becomes dysfunctional and you will become sick. And that is why functional breathing is so important. But what is functional breathing? Well, functional breathing means that you breathe regularly 6 to 8 times per minute and not more. Your breathing must be driven by the diaphragm and not by the upper chest. Inhalation is always through the nose and exhalation is always through the mouth. Inhalation must be always silent, so no noises. During the inhalation, also the air must be pushed from the upper chest to the belly with the diaphragm muscle located underneath your rib cage. Inhalation feels like your thorax and ribs are sidewise expanding to the left and right, making you wider, so ballooning you, so to speak. Also, the exhalation must occur up to the level of emptying the lungs using a diaphragm and pushing up the belly. And this feels like you are getting longer, your ribs and your thorax are moving up. Also, breathe relaxed, breathe rhythmically, and breathe silently. We must also learn how to control the number and the depth of our breaths using the diaphragm muscle. If you change your breath patterns, then the brain will change its settings as well. And we breathe about 28 to 30,000 times per day. And what is happening if all 30,000 breaths are put out of balance and run at a CO2 level at only, let's say, 28 to 30 mmHg? Can you imagine? Of course, you will see symptoms are starting occurring and you will become gradually sicker and sicker as a result. Why is breathing through your nose so important? Well, first, the nose is our best air filtration station, and it is therefore also the best organ to breathe through because the hairs in our nostrils filtrate the floaters from the air. We also have enzymes in the nasal mucus that kill viruses and bacteria. The sinuses also warm up and the air gets humidified and conditioned for the lungs. And the last filters are the adenoids and the tonsils where the air also passes through when you breathe through the nose. Breathing through the mouth, on the other hand, increases free radicals. And breathing through your mouth is actually like trying to eat through your nose. And according to experts, most people breathe at only 10 to 20% of their full lung capacity. This restricted breathing greatly decreases respiratory function, which in turn decreases energy levels in your body, and it also increases blood toxicity. In 1931, Otto Warburg won the Nobel Prize for determining that only oxygen-starved cells will mutate and become cancerous, and this fact should be enough proof to show you how important proper breathing really is. So what causes incorrect breathing? Well, the number one factor for that is stress. Many of us, of course, feel stressed out, we are overworked, we are overstimulated during our daily lives, and this leaves us in a chronic state of fight or flight. Breathing in and out through the nose helps us take fuller, deeper breaths, which stimulates the lower lung to distribute greater amounts of oxygen throughout the body. Also, the lower lung is rich with the parasympathetic nerve receptors that are associated with calming the body and mind, whereas our upper lungs are stimulated by chest and mouth breathing and prompt us to hyperventilate, and they trigger sympathetic nerve receptors, which result in the fight or flight reaction. Nasal breathing also activates the diaphragm. It activates the parasympathetic nerves and reduces stress, therefore. It increases the nitric oxide and dilates the blood and lymphatic vessels, and this helps you also to decongest the nose and sinuses. Also, your lungs actually extract oxygen from the air during exhalation in addition to inhalation. And because the nostrils are smaller than the mouth, air exhaled through the nose creates a backflow of air and oxygen into your lungs. And because we exhale more slowly through the nose than we do through the mouth, the lungs have more time to extract oxygen from the air we've already taken in. When there is a proper oxygen-carbon dioxide exchange during respiration, the blood will maintain a balanced pH, and if carbon dioxide is lost too quickly, as in mouth breathing, oxygen absorption will decrease, which can result in dizziness or even fainting. Air that we inhale through the nose also passes through the nasal mucosa, which stimulates the reflex nerves that control breathing. On the other hand, mouth breathing bypasses the nasal mucosa and makes regular breathing difficult, which can lead to snoring and breath irregularities and even sleep apnea. Breathing through the nose forces us to slow down until proper breath is trained, and therefore proper nose breathing reduces hypertension and stress. It also helps prevent us from overexerting ourselves during a workout. Also, our nostrils and sinuses filter and warm or cool down air as it enters our bodies. And our sinuses produce nitric oxide, which, when carried into the body through the breath, combats harmful bacteria and viruses in our bodies, and it also regulates blood pressure and boosts our immune system. Mouth breathing, on the other hand, accelerates water loss and contributes therefore to dehydration. The nose houses also so-called olfactory bulbs, which are direct extensions of a part of the brain that is called the hypothalamus. And the hypothalamus is responsible for many functions in our bodies, particularly those that are automatic, such as your heartbeat, blood pressure, thirst, appetite, and sleep cycles. The hypothalamus is also responsible for generating chemicals that influence memory and emotions. And the increased oxygen we get through nasal breathing increases therefore energy and vitality as well. Next, let's talk about some stressors that affect our breathing. First, we have mechanical stressors that are related to our posture, how we sit, how we sleep, how we move, how our job is keeping us for a long time in a wrong position, how fast we talk, how fast we eat. Then we have nutritional factors, so the kind of food we consume, the cooking procedures, our digestion and excretion patterns. Overeating and overdrinking also puts pressure on our diaphragm, and medications with side effects do the same. What is eating us is how we cope also with life problems, so life adaptation issues, psycho-emotional stressors, and problems in our relationships. And our brain will react with the reduction of CO2 that is lost through exhalation by reducing the airway diameter. Now, this is also known as spasms. And asthma, for example, is the wrong diagnosis in many cases because this disease does not really exist. It is just an adaptation of the body actually to the wrong breathing patterns that we have developed. Bronchial spasms feel like chest tightness, short breath, breathlessness, speechlessness, dizziness, vertigo, heart and chest pain. And carbon dioxide is thus the best vasodilator, and with a declining CO2 concentration in your blood, all the tubes in our body will constrict, which means the blood vessels, your lymphatic system vessels, your gastrointestinal tract pathways, also your urogenital tracts. And the list goes on as we are literally working as an air pump. Our whole body is an air pumping engine that works through over 65,000 miles of tubes. And the drainage also and detoxification function of the lymphatic system and the nutrients and oxygen transport functions of the circulatory system will be the most affected by the incorrect breathing, therefore. So we've already established that our body is an air engine that is driven by the lungs, that is pumping with the diaphragmatic muscle when we are breathing. The blood that is pumped is driving the heart, of course, which is actually a valving system. And the nutrients and the oxygen that is transported through our blood is nourishing the over 70 trillion cells that enable our life. The lymphatic system is the sewage and drainage system, also the detoxifying system, and it transports the metabolites and discards all the toxins. And when we hold our breath during night, when we have moments where we hold our breath while we are sleeping, this is called apnea. So how is oxygen then delivered to our cells? Well, to transport and release oxygen to the cells, each hemoglobin molecule that in the picture on the right is represented symbolically by the carriages, then it must meet the following conditions. In the lungs, we must have 21% oxygen. The pH in the lungs must be also at 7.45. Only 4 oxygen molecules can be bound to 1 molecule of hemoglobin. And if we breathe faster or add an oxygen tube to our nose, we will not get more oxygen to the cells. To release oxygen to the cells, the pH must be at 7.35 and enough carbon dioxide, so a minimum of 35 mmHg as we've discussed, preferably 40, which is equal to 6.5% concentration in the blood, must be present in order to open up the capillaries and blood vessels. And if these conditions are not concomitantly happening, there will be no correct oxygenation at the cellular level, and this is called hypoxia. And also the cells which do not receive enough oxygen will mutate, which means that cancer can develop, or they will degenerate, or they will die, which is called cellular apoptosis. And where the cellular environment is not enough aerobe, the bacteria and parasites and pathogens and most of the microorganisms which are anaerobe will find their nest, and you will get all kinds of infections. Correct breathing is also very important for us to detox properly. The major drainage system of our body that purges all the ingested toxins, the pathogen die-offs, the mutated cells and mutated hormones is the lymphatic system, as we've mentioned already. And we have over 65,000 miles of lymphatic tubes and about 25,000 miles of blood vessels. Clearly, therefore, the lymphatic system is very, very important for us. Our lifestyle today clogs up the lymphatic system, unfortunately, and therefore it cannot detoxify the blood properly, which means that the blood carries around all the toxins and cellular debris will not be purified correctly, and as a result you will develop health conditions. The lymphatic system has no own pumping mechanism. So while the muscular movement clearly helps the lymphatic system to move, deep breathing is equally important to help achieve the proper lymph drainage. And the lymphatic fluid is draining into so-called subclavian veins, namely 80% into the left vein and 20% into the right vein. Dr. Jack Shields, who is a very prominent MD lymphologist in California, conducted a study in 1979 using cameras inside the body that showed clearly that deep breathing causes the lungs to press into the thoracic duct, and this as a result presses the lymph fluid into your bloodstream. When exhaling, the pressure of millions of check valves throughout the entire lymphatic systems are being relieved, and the lymphatic fluid works then like a geyser. This in turn increases the rate of toxic elimination by as much as 15 times above the normal pace, and you heal as you bring more oxygen to the cells and are able to eliminate more toxins as a result. And this breathing art heals cancer and many diseases. It can even help you to lose weight and, of course, to deeply detoxify. So, which are the best breathing practices? For lymphatic detox breathing, inhale silently and deeply through your nose. Use the diaphragm to push the air to your lower belly to completely fill the lungs. It should take about 5 to 6 seconds. Then hold the air in the lungs for about 5 seconds and exhale powerfully through your mouth, sucking upwards your diaphragm into your thorax, and this should take about 10 seconds. And then repeat this procedure 30 times every 4 hours per day. To increase the CO2 in your blood and improve cellular oxygenation, and also to stabilize the blood pH and dilate the blood and lymphatic vessels, you should inhale silently and deeply again through your nose, about 5 to 6 seconds. Then exhale silently also through your nose. Pinch your nose and count the pausing time in seconds up to the level that you will feel air hunger, so you will feel air starvation. And if you are sick, pausing time will start at about 10 to 20 seconds. If you are perfectly healthy, you will be pausing after about 40 to 60 seconds. And if you are of medium health, you will have a pausing time of around 30 seconds. Also train yourself to increase the pausing time. Do this 15 minutes every 4 hours per day. You can do this also either in sitting or while lying down or while you're moving around, and you should do this before about an hour before or after a meal or drink. Then we have the so-called living soul breathing, which is an ancient practice to relax and improve health. This goes like this. You inhale once, silently and deeply through your nose. You use the diaphragm to push the air to your lower belly to completely fill the lungs. 2 seconds, and then you hold the air for 2 seconds. Then you exhale twice through your mouth in 4 seconds, emptying your lungs. And then you inhale again silently twice through your nose, hold it for 4 seconds, and exhale 4 times through your mouth, emptying the lungs, and you wait until you feel again air starvation or air hunger. Then you inhale again 3 times through the nose, hold it for 4 seconds again, and exhale 6 times through your mouth, empty the lungs, and you wait until you feel air hunger again. And this continues like this up to 7 times, where you hold it for 10 seconds, you exhale 14 times through your mouth and empty the lungs again, and you go back thereafter to inhale 6 times and exhale 12 times, and inhale 5 times and exhale 10 times, etc., etc. You get a pattern. And with all that being said, I hope that you got a better understanding of how important correct breathing is for our overall health. It can also help you, as we have seen from the amazing achievements of Jim Hof, to really become superhuman, to achieve things that are thought to be supernatural but are actually not. They can be achieved through proper breathing. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact us, shop@laranara.com. The complete contact information, including our toll-free phone number, is going to be, of course, also in the description box below. And if you've enjoyed this presentation, please also support our work by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Also, do not forget to hit the notifications button to get notified whenever we bring out new videos, which is at least once per week. And with all that, I hope that you stay healthy. Until next time.